The artist I chose to discuss is Michelangelo. I chose Michelangelo because I did a project on him when I was in elementary school. I did not know a lot about art at that point, and Michelangelo was always the artist I tended to focus on. Now that I can interpret his works properly because of this class, I felt it was only fitting to do my presentation actually on him. So, his time period and early life. So, Michelangelo was born in Caprice, Italy on March 6, 1475. Because of his father's involvement in the Florentine government, they moved to Florence, Italy at an early age. He was born during the High Renaissance, a time where art was the focus, and Florence was the art center for the Renaissance. Michelangelo's mother died when he was 6, and his father disapproved of art as a career path. Despite his obstacles, Michelangelo became an apprentice to Domenico Ghirlandaio. His talent was quickly noticed, and he began to learn from Lorenzo de' Medici, known as the Magnificent because he was so good at what he did. Medici's friend, a sculptor named Bertoldo di Giovanni, heavily influenced Michelangelo's interest as a sculptor. Although Michelangelo didn't use the same mediums, he tended to go towards marble and more of the harder mediums. He moved to Rome in 1498 and established his career as an artist, but often traveled back to Florence for different art projects. After a long career, he died in Italy in 1564 at age 88. One of his earlier pieces, his most notable, was the Pieta. After moving to Rome by 1498, a visiting French cardinal named Jean Belerhes de la Gralas to King Charles XVI, I believe, commissioned Michelangelo to create a sculpture of the Virgin Mary with her son Jesus in her arms. The sculpture was 69 inches tall and sculpted with marble. His use of marble as the medium represents his preference for more serious art, as well as the Renaissance style of calm and balanced art. Another notable art piece of his is his sculpture of David. In 1501, Michelangelo returned to Florence and was hired to create a marble statue of a huge man to go in the official cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore, the Duomo. He chose David from the Old Testament because he was a really well-known biblical figure, as well as he was strong, energetic, and a heroine, and known for his bravery. The sculpture is 17 feet tall and successfully appeared human while also depicting a larger-than-life persona. This mindset was often used during the Renaissance, honoring the natural human body while also placing humans as monuments, expressing how important humans were. Another notable piece is the Sistine Chapel, and then the creation of Adam, which is a part of the Sistine Chapel. The two previous art pieces were sculptures, but then he actually took up art when in 1508 Pope Julius II hired Michelangelo to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in Rome. He was instructed to paint 12 apostles. However, as Michelangelo began to work, the 12 apostles quickly turned into 300 different biblical figures and scenes on the ceiling. He worked on the 65-foot ceiling alone because he felt all of his assistants were incompetent, which goes with his more isolation, his personality, and his kind of bad temper. It was finished on October 31st, 1512. The Sistine Chapel ceiling clearly portrays the style of the High Renaissance with its Christian symbols as well as human and Greek philosophy. The Sistine Chapel ceiling is a very popular art piece, the most iconic image being the creation of Adam, in which Michelangelo painted God touching the finger of a normal man. Michelangelo's influence and financial success. So the Buonarroti family was part of the minor nobility in Florence, and several past generations and his ancestors held several government positions. However, the Bonarti family lost most of their wealth and popularity and respect by the time Michelangelo was born. Despite his father's lack of support in art, Michelangelo thrived in his profession and actually gained a lot of fame and wealth just by himself, not by his family's wealth. He became known as the greatest sculptor since the Greeks, following his creation of David, and even lived to see 2 biographies made about him, which is very rare at that time. Not many biographies were made. And these were written by Giorgio Vasari and Ascanio Condivi. His name became a symbol of the Italian Renaissance, along with popular artists Leonardo da Vinci and Raffaello Sanzio. His art helped to shape the High Renaissance. His balanced and idealized reflection of the beauty of the human body, the importance of the Christian religion, and his awareness of Greek philosophy really changed the way artists viewed expression, and even you can see his influence today. Some interesting facts about Michelangelo are, so not only was Michelangelo a sculptor and a painter, he also became a poet in later years of his life when he started taking literary classes and stuff. He wrote roughly 300 poems. Most of his poems focused on a widow named Vittorio Colonna. Although he was never married, most believe Michelangelo and Vittorio were romantically involved. Following Vittorio's death, which left Michelangelo devastated, he set his sights on a nobleman named Tommaso de Cavalieri. His interest in Tommaso sparked many to believe Michelangelo was actually a homosexual, and that's still popularly debated today. Michelangelo was also known to be a stubborn perfectionist with a bad temper. His temper isolated him from others, leaving him to do most of his works by himself, including the Sistine Chapel, which I mentioned earlier. In addition to his anger issues, he also suffered from depression, a common trait in a lot of famous artists. Here is my work cited, and that is all. Thank you for watching. Comment below.